Welcome to Changelog and Friends, a weekly talk show that's all that. Thank you as always to our friends at Fly.io, the home of Changelog.com. Fly transforms containers into micro VMs that run on their hardware in 30 plus regions on 6 continents, so you can launch your app near your users. Okay, let's talk. Hello, friends. Jared here. On this episode, we're taking you to the hallway track at that conference in Austin, Texas, where we have 3 fun conversations for you. One with our old friend Nick Nisi from JS Party, one with our new-ish friend Amy Dutton from CompressedFM, who has been a guest on JS Party of late, and one with our brand new friend and longtime listener Andres Pineda from the Dominican Republic. Speaking of the hallway track, when we first conceived this talk show flavor of the changelog, the only tagline I could come up with at the time was, "It's like putting the hallway track at your favorite tech conference on repeat all year round." We think that captures the vibe of Changelog and Friends, but I'm not in love with the tagline by any means. You've been listening to Friends for a while now. Can you think of a better one? If you can, email it to editors@changelog.com. If we dig what you come up with, maybe we'll use yours instead and give you all the credit and send you some free stickers. Yeah, we'd love to do that. Okay, first up, it's Mr. Ahoy Hoy himself.
Ahoy hoy!
Nick Nisi.
It's hard because you can't hear yourself, so you're not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, just,
I can see my waveform.
There you go.
you're solid. We've done this before. It's fine-tuned to exactly where it needs to be.
Nice.
That's like being able to read the Matrix, you know? Like I can see my waveform.
Yeah?
This guy's a pro. He knows what his waveform looks like.
I was thinking a potential backup, if Danny said no, was to talk about browsers on the stage.
With Nick?
With Nick. Yeah, because, well, going back to the Friends list, like,
Yeah.
that's a popular episode in recent times.
Yeah.
And this is a polyglot conference, and I figure, well, browsers are pretty important at the conference like this, so
Right.
Yeah.
let's talk browsers. I have not played with Arc since that conversation. I'm
Same.
strictly a Safari person.
You went back?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, man. So
We're
no-
all back on Safari. Oh, I'm not using Arc.
Okay.
Well, but today I just did download Arc Search on my phone.
I heard
just
about
wanted to
it.
check it out. I don't know even what it is.
What is it?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I
okay.
have no idea.
It's from Arc. I get emails from him.
Arc Search. Yeah, I got the email, but I was too busy to read it.
Wasn't there some legislation recently with Safari and Apple and browsers?
gosh.
I
Yes.
saw a headline.
Oh, my
I didn't hear
goodness.
the
Oh,
details.
it's wild.
Okay. What's the, do you
Do you know
have
the
scoop?
details?
I know some of the details, I think. So in the EU, they will allow third-party engines to be on the browser or on the phone.
Right.
And they will present an option when you go sign on
For
to
default
Mac.
browser?
Yeah, for default browser.
Ooh.
And so you do not have to pick Safari anymore, which I'm torn. Like, I'm in the US, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
really.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't like that all of this stuff came out and it's so different between like the EU and
Countries,
the US.
yeah.
Like, it
Right.
just feels like they're just being so petty, you know?
They are.
Well, I wonder if they're
It's
leading
malicious
away in a way.
compliance
though.
is what they're calling it.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I just wonder if they're leading away in a way. Like, will we, because it's happening there, will it be essentially absorbed elsewhere because it's
Not according to Apple.
Yeah.
No?
You'd hope so,
Okay.
but
Well, I
don't-
think we have to pass similar legislation in the U.S. for them
Won't
to do
happen.
it. Yeah, which won't happen.
My biggest concern though is the amount of tabs. I'm at 500.
What do you mean?
I have 500 tabs open on Safari.
And why
And
is
you
There's a
cannot
red
go.
X. You can just click that.
This is a concern, but not for the browser wars.
Well, I want
for your
more than
life.
500 tabs. Okay.
Well, is there a limit? You found
I'm
the
at my
limit?
limit. Yes.
Wow.
When I go to new tab now, I cannot new tab past 500.
Safari?
Can you create a new
Yes.
like
Well, on iOS.
tab group or profile and then go
Well,
again?
I haven't tried that. Maybe.
There you go.
I'm
Maybe.
pretty sure that's a feature, Adam. 500 tabs is ridiculous.
Sorry.
How do you expect them to sync all those between browsers and everything?
They just do.
Do you have no...
It's like recipes in there and stuff like that. I haven't like gone. So it's some to-dos that I just have not done.
But that's
obviously.
a lot of to-dos.
Sorry. I mean,
That's like Drew
The main
DeVault's
thing,
Inbox
man.
500. You're at tab 500.
tab 500.
Well, if you ordered a Vision Pro, I just hope you got the high-end model, not the base
Yeah,
storage.
you're gonna need some RAM on that sucker
No Vision Pro for me.
to hold those things in.
There was actually, I think we talked about Ready Player One and Ready Player Two. Did you listen to or read those books?
Yes, I listened to both of them.
Okay, so were you thinking like the Oni headset from Ready Player Two? the ONI. They called it the Oni headset. The
With
Oni,
Vision Pro, you mean? Like comparing
yeah,
Vision Pro?
because the Vision. So the book is called Ready Player One, Ready Player Two. It's a movie as well.
Yep.
And Ready Player Two, I don't want to spoil it, but it goes beyond this haptic wears they would do to get into the VR, into the Oasis, right? And there's a revelation in the second book that essentially takes that to one more layer. And I don't want to ruin it, so I'm going to be vague just because of that, if people are listening. Screw it. Spoiler alert, okay? It goes like...
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
It goes straight up, like, how would you describe it? Like, you feel like you're in it. It's not VR anymore. It's, like, connected to your brain.
Yep.
And they call it the ONI headset, but they just really call it Oni.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the Apple Vision Pro is like the precursor to our fiction turned reality, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going to influence that. Like, this is like the original Oasis headset moment. And then I'm waiting for the Oni headset.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I-
you can unplug now. You're good.
I
Are you
think
done?
it's coming.
Jared was plugging his ears. He don't want to ruin it.
All right.
You probably won't even listen to or read these stories, though.
No, I just like to not be spoiled.
Okay, don't be spoiled.
I'm excited for that, and I think that there's this is the precursor to a lot of things, right? This is the worst version of the headset that's ever going to be produced, and if you look at like all of the rumors that were coming out of like Gurman and stuff before, like they were shooting for glasses, and this is the compromise because they can't
They
the
can't get it
technology.
done.
It is
Yeah.
so heavy though. Like I see people wearing
Yeah.
it, and I'm just thinking like I'm not a VR guy necessarily, but I just think like it has to change its form factor for it to be having mass
For sure.
adoption. Battery life, obviously. Like who wants to wear
A battery pack in your pocket?
anything that heavy on your head?
but
for
isn't
that
there
long?
the battery actually doesn't go on the head, right? It goes back.
Oh yeah, they'll sell you a $50 clip so you can clip it to your belt or
I
something.
bet they would.
Those are cool. Those
What
are
about
real
the
cool.
cable to get to the clip?
I
$200
think it does, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's $200 for a travel case.
Yeah,
I
mean,
didn't even price it out this time. I just skipped it altogether.
But we've got things like that. We've got the Neuralink, which I will be the last person on earth to sign up for.
Yeah.
And Disney just had that thing with the hollow tile floor.
Yeah,
Oh,
see,
that
I
was
saw
cool.
That,
That
where
was
you can
really
walk.
cool.
That is really cool.
But that was in Ready Player One too, like in the movie
right,
at least.
right.
Like,
In that case, it was kind of like a treadmill though,
Yeah.
where their version was like small spheres.
You can
balls.
walk any direction, and there's like, are they balls? They're like,
I
they look
assume
like
they were-
ball bearings or
yeah.
something, but they're not
Yeah.
metal, and they'll move, and they'll keep you in the center, roughly in the center of this little patch of balls.
I wonder if they just like put ceramic balls, which that ball bearings that are ceramic are the most expensive and the best. So that'll like hold a human's weight if they run or walk. And they just like lubed them and like put them in a space that they fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Is that the science, right? And there's something beneath it that sort of like has sensors.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
it's cool, but I don't see that being a practical thing that
It's
I
not
install in my
immersive
house.
either. I mean,
Yeah.
I could. Well, I can't say that because I haven't actually experienced it, but it looks like similar to like when you're on a treadmill and they'll put those videos in front of you where it's
Yeah.
like you're actually in the Himalayas right now, and it's like, no, dude, I'm on a treadmill.
Well, the good thing that all of this tech has working for it is like you've seen the pictures. Apple tried to like take the pictures and they only like sent out like, okay, these are the pictures we're going to let you actually post and
Yeah,
things
that
like
was
that.
weird.
And not one of them looks cool. I'm sorry. Like I want a Vision Pro. I definitely do.
You do.
But they look really dumb. I'll just say that. On your head. Like you look dumb. And once you lose that little amount of dignity, then I'm totally fine like getting like one of those things that my kids would have
All
when
in,
they're
right?
little.
All in.
Yeah. I'll just have like, a diaper kind of attached to the ceiling that's holding me up and I can just kind of
Well, this
Float in
is like,
place.
if you watch Ready Player
That's a
One, it's a
picture I
lot
wanna
like that,
see.
right?
Yeah.
In the movie Ready Player One, it's very predictive in terms of where we might go or what does work, because they like have hanging, they have haptic suits where you have like literally in your, what do they call it, the crotch fiber inlay or something like that. Like there's a joke in the movie, like
Yeah.
you can feel,
That's a spoiler.
all those things. Yeah, I mean, that movie is probably predictive in a way to what might be coming, and also quite scary because if you read the second novel, it's not good. Let's just say, doom and gloom.
Well, you can't have a good story with just with Utopia. Utopia is the boringest thing there is. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
you gotta have doom and gloom, otherwise you got no storyline.
For sure.
So makes sense. But I can't believe we just cruised right past this rendering engine thing. I mean, I can because it's
yeah.
Apple Vision Pro, but
Oh, yeah.
alternate rendering engines only in the EU. But that seems like it's probably good enough to at least get all the benchmarks out there and see if WebKit on iOS, Safari on iOS is actually slow.
Yep.
I've always thought it was pretty snappy. I mean, as the phone's gotten real fast.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they're, intentionally keeping it slow so that their app store is more flourishing. Once we can have alternate rendering engines, even if we don't use them here in the States,
Right.
the benchmarks will be out there, and that, I think, will spur them on to make it fast.
It'll push the innovation for sure. I suppose that's true. It might actually influence Apple to allow us to have that if there is innovation that comes from the act of choice, right?
Well, I think just the embarrassment of it will be enough.
Yeah, like if you're slower than the competition, this may not be what y'all feel, but the number one feature I cannot stand is when I swipe back to a tab and it has to refresh.
Yes.
Right? Like, does that just drive you crazy?
It does. And it like shows you like a pre-rendered, like an
This is
old
what
render of it.
This is what it used to look like.
Yeah. And I'm trying to like tap something and it's like, oh wait,
Please
that's
don't go
basically
away.
an image.
Yeah. And then it refreshes and it's not at the same place anymore,
Yes.
or the content's gone and you're like, oh, I saw
Or
what
you're
it
like on a
was.
terrible connection and you've got to wait.
Yeah.
The back and forth and the multitasking between tabs is just like, I do not like let's re-render that page. Like, no, just stop. Don't do that. Give me what was there, even if it's not accurate, because I'm just reading it, not interacting with it.
Yep.
But you got 500 tabs, so you can't really blame the browser for that. I mean,
I
how's it
can.
supposed to hold all those?
I can do that.
How's it supposed to hold all those in memory?
Buy the bigger phone, deal with it. I don't know.
That's on,
What are those actually doing for you, being there?
Right.
Is there like a comfort knowing?
So I will admit, I am not happy about my situation.
Okay.
I feel.
so you don't think this is optimal?
Well, I'm focusing on the main thing, and the main thing is not closing tabs, right? The main thing is progress, and so I just
Yeah,
sort
but
of
you
just
brush
keep
your
going.
teeth, don't you?
Yeah, but that's not akin. Like, nobody's smelling my tabs, okay? Nobody's looking at my tabs. Only me. So it's
But
my
you'd
mess.
have that refresh problem less if you had less tabs.
I don't think so.
I
well,
think so.
I suppose just by sheer
Nick
numbers.
agrees.
Yeah.
He's nodding his head.
But
I have like 5 tabs open, and if I get beyond that, I'm like,
That's
this
it.
is too much. I have to close them.
That's pretty cleanly. Let me see. I'm going to get a count here.
we're all counting tabs.
I'm sitting on 27 tabs.
Okay, wait.
Healthy?
On the phone.
Yeah, Nick
the
was
phone, it might
probably
be-
exaggerating. 498, so you're under the...
Oh my gosh, I'm at 19 on the phone.
Okay, so 5 was a lie, a bold-faced lie.
Straight up scroll
On the
forever.
desktop, I'm thinking the desktop.
Oh, yeah. My desktop's pretty clean.
Yeah. So what is it on the desktop? Is it similar?
No, 0.
Okay.
Yeah,
Zero tabs?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a browser open. It's, my computer's right there. It's not even open.
Well, if it was open, how many tabs would it have in it?
As many as necessary for the moment. I'm in
Okay.
the present. Yeah.
So you do maintain your...
Oh yeah, it's an iOS issue, and so I think the cool feature with Safari on iOS is that when you start typing in an address, it will go to the tab that instead of going to it
Yeah.
new with a new tab, it'll say open in existing tab, and so I do
Yep.
that a lot.
It does
You
do
know?
that, and that's really nice. Yeah.
And so I might have something open. I mean, that's not really a good feature, really, in my opinion. I mean, it's just helpful to not open one more tab.
Yep.
But I just haven't gone back and closed things. There's research I'm doing that I just have forgotten about. And so maybe I'll go back and do a garbage collection, right? And be like, okay, what is this really garbage?
You need a mark
or
and
is there
sweep.
treasure?
Yeah, you need a mark and sweep that.
Are you?
For sure.
Let me ask you another potentially personal question.
Yeah, go deep.
How many unread emails are in your inbox right now?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell.
I am constantly at inbox 0
I'm also an inbox 0 guy.
because if there's something there, I just like randomly. I'll just throughout the day. I'll just like highlight all, archive. If I need it, it's there. I can go
And
back.
I've seen them out. I am not an inbox 0 guy. I am an inbox red guy. And archive as necessary. I archive a lot. But we get so many emails, I just can't keep up with it. So I feel like I've sort of just given up with having to maintain email. I mean, it's just it's a drain on humanity.
Have you ever declared bankruptcy and started over?
Yeah.
But you
at least
still
once
have-
a year.
You at least have the badge hidden, right? on
Twice
your
a year,
phone?
once a year I'll do it.
Yeah, what's your badge say?
Like unread or
Yeah.
in thousands.
How do you deal with that? Isn't that just anxiety?
painful, yeah.
No, what's on top? That's it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but the badge is staring at you with 1,000 unread.
Oh, I don't pay attention to that badge.
Wouldn't it be nice if like you looked at your phone and it said 2, and you're like, I have 2 new emails. I feel special.
Oh, I don't let.
Do you maintain an unread count in your head? Like, well, it used to be 1,274, but now I see it's 1,276.
Zero.
So there's
Not
2
at
new
all.
emails. You're just constantly doing diffs in your head.
Nope. I don't even. So I actually hide that red orb
Okay.
from those things. So no badge count on iOS.
Okay. That's
So he's in denial.
Yeah.
He's in denial. If I don't look at it, it'll go away.
That's right.
I ain't seen it. It's new to me.
It's not a problem, really.
If it works for you, it works for you.
It's true.
until you get to 500 tabs. Then it doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
agree. It's not ideal. I do need to garbage collect and move things to somewhere else. Obsidian, I mean, that's where I organize. Obsidian is a huge help to, like, if I have a thought or a note to take, that's Obsidian every single time. It's so fast. It's obviously Markdown. Obsidian is a lifesaver. I'm kind of like not cool with like all their new stuff they're doing. I'm worried they'll get the Notion level with like adding so much stuff into Obsidian.
Yeah. That's
Well, I'm a little
interesting.
concerned.
Let's talk about
What are they
that.
adding?
It's a low-level concern, not a big-level concern, in the fact that they might be influenced. Now, I'm not a big fan of Notion necessarily. We recently downgraded to a free plan because we don't even use it anymore, and we were paying for it like probably $20-$40 a month.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is just stupid. We can't do this anymore because we're not using it actively. There's some information in there that's still in there that we keep, and we'll pull out eventually, but I think Notion it's a really helpful tool for some people.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome for people who can really find workflows for it, but I feel it's just so cumbersome. And the proprietary black box of database in there, like in particular, we maintained a sponsorship schedule that I wanted to pull out a small slice and share with a sponsor. So create a page, pull out some of the data from our big, massive our table, and pull that data over to a page that share with them. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And so it's just so internal focused, not collaborative focused. You can have guests, but even that, I couldn't share a sliver of guest data that was their data in this big table. And so, I think it's a great tool. If they would have had that one feature, maybe I'd stay. Maybe. But it was kind of like, I said before it was fast, and then after I said it was fast, it started to be slow.
It never felt fast for me. That was my biggest gripe.
I mean, the fact that it's a black box proprietary
Right.
Yeah.
thing, and it doesn't.
Your data's locked in there. At a
It's
costly,
locked in there, and two of the three of us just flew here. It has no offline support years into its life cycle.
Right.
That's not very useful. But the new features that have been added to Notion or to Obsidian, at least like the main one that is like going against the Markdown thing is their Canvas feature, where you can like drag and drop notes and you can put Post-its and draw lines between notes and all of that. It's obviously not Markdown, but it is a very readable JSON file that you could probably do something with if you needed
Is
to.
it?
Yeah.
I've only used that once. It's cool because you can also completely ignore all the stuff.
Yes. I think the bigger problem with Obsidian, though, is there's so much reliance on plugins, and there are fantastic plugins in there, but you're relying on all of these third-party devs who, like for example, the calendar plugin, it broke for me, and I had to like completely uninstall it and reinstall it, and that's like, it's relied upon by like periodic notes and like these other plugins, and I went and looked and I'm like, why did this break? I have no idea. This plugin has not been touched in 3 years. And it's like a pivotal plugin,
Yeah.
So that like the rot of plugins and like the proprietary nature of like, oh, I'm going to build this data view thing, which is like a SQL type thing. That's a third party thing, and if they stop supporting that at some point, like I've got all these notes with this.
Right.
That's kind of where I keep it's not a dashboard for me. It's just more like my thinking.
Yeah.
Notes, thinking, sponsor data is in there, like reads, everything, all the stuff. I just keep it simple. I focus on tags to get around, titling, and I love the search features like Command Open or Command O just to get to whatever and start
Yep.
searching for
Yeah,
things.
I use that all the time.
That's super good for me.
You mentioned being super organized with it. Are you actually like meticulously organizing within Obsidian?
I'm not.
Yeah, me neither.
I
in
do have some
pros
folders.
only, like you can keyword search. I'm good with that, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm the
Foldering
same.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep it organized, and I like get really like distraught with like how
It's
unorganized
almost
it all
better
is.
just to be flat though. No
yeah.
directories, right? Like just flat.
Definitely.
I like the
Definitely.
daily note where you just hit today and you have a new note for the date stamp on it.
Yep.
And that's why I do all my scratch writing and just whatever.
Yep.
And I then take that and I like to have that organized by the actual like folders of the year and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I think you said you've automated that at some point.
I bought a what?
You automated like moving stuff into.
Oh yeah.
How do I do that?
So I have it just through the daily note plugin or the periodic notes plugin. It automatically like sorts those into like a 2024 folder and then a January folder and then a week 1 folder.
Okay, so there's a plugin called Periodic Notes that moves those for you.
Yeah, when I create a new one, it just automatically follows some.
Now there's a
pattern to create
built-in
that.
daily note already.
Yes, this is
additional to that?
slightly better because there's daily notes, and this one will do weekly notes, monthly notes, quarterly notes, yearly notes. And so I can just push a button to go to my quarterly note for this quarter.
It's just organizing them for you, though? Or is it actually like a whole new part of the UI?
It's you turn off the daily notes plugin
I
and
don't know
you use the.
there is no plugin, or is it a plugin?
It's a
That's
core
just built
plugin.
into Obsidian.
Right.
Okay.
Plugin.
Yeah.
What
That's
is
a
the
plugin.
difference between a daily and a quarterly? Like, what's a quarterly note to you versus a daily note?
So like I would have a first quarter 2024 note right now, and if I needed to add stuff to that, I more use that as like a dashboard where I'm like taking summaries of weeks or months and putting it in there. The goal is like, oh, I can look at this quarter and say I accomplished all of this in this quarter, but I have to be diligent enough to actually like get it in a way that
Right.
it'll filter up to that. But that's the idea, at least.
What do you give us a glimpse behind the scenes of like what are you organizing? Personal, career, work, ideas. What do you got? What do you got?
Fun
there?
employment.
Fun employment, yeah. I traditionally keep everything in one vault because I want to do the backlinks between everything.
Yeah.
But I use a Mac tool called Hazel that can watch the folder and like based
Yeah.
on the names of things.
Move stuff.
Yeah. So I'll move things from like, I'll just throw everything in the root, and then if it detects, oh, this is actually a work note, it moves it to the work note folder, so that if I ever needed to, I could just take that and make it its own vault later. But right now, they're all kind of put together.
Okay.
But the big thing that I'm looking into right now, like with this, having no organization, I want to continue that, but I want to look at like local LLMs as a way to like train it on that, so that all I have to do is talk to my notes. I take notes and then I don't ever look at the notes. I talk to them and they talk back to me. I think that's
That would be cool.
true future, but I want it to be all local. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
sending all of my notes to OpenAI or whatever.
Oh, that's totally doable, I think. That's
Yeah.
cool. I'm such a non-power user. I don't do any of this stuff.
Really?
I mean, I open up a new note and I write into it.
That's it?
And then I Command O, I Command T, I Command N, and I hit the today note thing.
The most important thing though, do you look
It's
at
just,
your
for
graph?
me, it's a markdown editor. No.
You don't look at
I
your
don't tag
constellation. Oh.
Me either.
No.
Nah.
Do you like project yours on the ceiling above your bed?
do,
Or
yeah.
Yes, I do.
I projected on my child's ceiling at night.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at what Daddy did today. That little
Yeah,
constellation.
I think for me, though, the killer feature, I suppose, with it is not really a feature, it's more of a usage.
Yeah.
Has been, I've gotten into home lab stuff, so building Ubuntu servers and like building out ZFS storage systems and all these different things that require like repeatable steps. So I've automated Future Atom by docs, my own docs. So like I have my own docs. If I need to stand up a new thing or a new way
Right.
or whatever it is, I'm going to my own docs and doing the things from my docs for myself. I think...
That's just notes, though. That's not a feature.
is.
It's like you like it because your notes are in there.
Sure, but like I suppose
I like notes.
what did you have before? Just like a directory you put markdown files in before? I suppose it's the same thing basically, but it provides that UI.
Well, that's why I like it. It's
got-
literally the same thing.
No, I know, but I mean, you can copy code snippets out of it. It's got helpful features as a UI that isn't just, markdown docs. It's
Yeah.
copy paste, prose.
Right.
You've got code snippets in there and stuff like that. So sure, but it's helped me organize it better. Whereas
Sure.
before it was like, where do I take notes? In Notion? No. Google Doc? Not for code, right? Like it's just not that good at it.
Notes.app.
Notes.app? Maybe.
I got a lot of notes in Notes.app.
Sure, but like, can you copy code out of that pretty easily? You can copy and paste, but you can't click to copy, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of features that are a part of Obsidian that have helped me make my own docs.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
I can't. I'm not a user of WYSIWYGs. I just like the notes app.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I can't
Well,
do it. I can't do it.
If
He's
you use
declaring
it as plain text, it's fine. But yeah, once you get more fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I like Obsidian as well. I like to have a better editor around plain text things. My favorite new feature is the fact that they have table support now. It's markdown tables.
Yeah.
But it's just easier to write them than the difficulty of writing markdown tables. And
Yeah.
you can copy paste them.
Truth.
You can say like add new column, and it's going to go ahead and just generate that text for me. That's awesome. Those are the kind of features that I want. I don't want any of the other features. So, but I don't have any plugins. I've never looked at the plugins directory.
I don't use
I have
plugins
0
either.
plugins. How many you got?
0.
I don't want to say it.
Oh gosh, 500.
Hang on. I'll give you an accurate.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, I'm the same. I have no plugins.
Yeah, same.
Just give me that's why I'm trying to say, like, don't ruin Obsidian by making it too powerful in terms of its feature set. Just keep it opt-in, I suppose.
Better than I thought. I have a modest 40 plugins.
40.
40. Gosh, we both say.
That's less than NeoVim, probably.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
less than half of Neil.
So how do you find these plugins? How do you manage them? No wonder you're so concerned about third-party developers.
Yes. A lot of my workflow is based upon that, upon third-party.
So do you imagine something and then say there's got to be a plugin for that, or do you just, when you're going to the bathroom, you're gonna like scroll on your phone, you're thinking I'll just check the plugin directory?
Yeah, I'm a tools guy. I like.
I know we know that, but
thinking about my tools. I watch videos on it. I'm like, Obsidian just came out with like their top list of this is our 2023 best plugin, best theme, whatever.
And you'll go read that. You'll download each one of those and try it.
I looked at them at least, and I was like, oh, that is kind of cool. The main one that I got out of that was like one called Folder Notes. So if you do use folders, I have some folders in there. You can set like, when I click on this folder, this is the note that opens, so that I can have like a work dashboard, and I can just click on the folder and I see that. It's like really simple. Oh, he's downloading it.
No. I'm seeing if my wife is texting me.
Oh,
sorry.
How rude. No, this is enthralling content, Nick.
She's supposed to come, that's why.
Ironically, to that moment, I was into this, and I was thinking, you should do some curation. You should be like the Obsidian plugin guy, like.
There's so many of those, though, aren't there?
Are there?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Top 12 Obsidian plugins you must have as a dev.
I have a very low set of plugins.
I would entertain a well-maintained dashboard plugin. I would entertain that.
Yeah.
Because I desire that. I don't desire it in another tool. I mean, in Obsidian, like, it's always open.
Yep.
Right? It's always there. The moment I have an idea, like a new doc is created, or if I'm having a conversation, the notes are there,
Yep.
right? I wouldn't mind a dashboard that helps me. And I don't even dislike your idea of the daily, quarterly, yearly notes idea too, but I don't want to support a plugin to do it or have the lack of support with it not being
Have you written any of your own plugins?
I have dabbled with it, yes. I have one, I haven't released it, but it just parses your markdown and looks for a pattern, like GH : and then 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And it's configured for my repo, from like my work repo, to say,
Right.
that'll automatically just insert a link, and it'll give you the status of like whether that PR is closed or whatever.
Nice.
And
you write all that in pure JavaScript or what?
pure TypeScript, baby.
Pure TypeScript, baby.
All right. That's cool.
Let's talk about the idea of Obsidian supporting the plugins. So I know they have the core plugins,
Yep.
and let's say there's a very popular plugin out there that is less than maintained or could be better. Do you think it would be wise of them to begin to like offer some support to the developers that are building that ecosystem? Like, what are your thoughts on how they can support it? Not so much take it over and make it theirs. Like, what are your thoughts on that for them?
I think that would be a good idea, like, because that's the draw, especially.
Right.
Like, it's what makes it a powerful thing beyond just a blank notes editor, right? It's being able to extend it, and I see this cool feature in Obsidian or in Notion. Well, somebody might have brought it over to Obsidian and
Right.
see how to play with it. So they should do that. I don't know for sure, but what I've seen in the past is like cool plugins. They're no stranger to just doing the Apple Sherlocking of those plugins.
Yeah.
So like one was admonitions, being able to add like a call out in your notes. That's a plugin. Now it's part of it. And they changed the syntax, which is kind of annoying.
What's in it? What do you mean? A call out?
Like putting a call out in your notes. So I can say like, this is important
make it big.
or warning or whatever. And have it in there. And
Is that markdown or?
yeah, it's markdown, but it's like a quote with a square brackets around what type of admonition it is. And then all of that and everything inside of the quotes with the greater than signs on
Okay.
the left. That would be an admonition.
Can't you just like go pound and make it an H2 and now it's big?
Well, yeah, but then it's an H2.
but-
That'll show up in an outline like as an H2.
Yeah. I use the outline plugin. Well, I guess that's default. It's in there,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
outline option. It's on the right-hand side in the little sidebar. I love that. I mean, especially for large docs where you want to scroll it, you can jump to places.
Yep.
That's so helpful, the outline. And I agree, like you'd want it as a call out, not as an H2, because it would show up in that hierarchy, and you want it to be within an H2, not an H2.
Yep.
Bold.
And there-
How about
As
bold
an
it?
example.
I just use. I
Command
actually
B.
do Command B.
Yeah.
And it puts the stars. I can never remember because Slack is like the one that's like the opposite.
Slack ruined it. Yeah.
Well, they do? What's theirs?
Oh, they don't
think it's
support
two-
markdown
Yeah.
syntax highlighting. They support like their own little close to, but not close enough.
Yeah, I think in normal Markdown it's 2 asterisks on each
Right.
side,
For
but in
bold.
Slack it's 1, and so then I mix up which one is which.
Right, but one asterisk is technically
Italic,
italic,
yeah.
which is also one underscore.
Right.
Which maybe that's a problem with Markdown, is they had too many ways of italicizing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Potentially.
So there's one idea is, could there be, usage-based sharing, profit sharing to a plugin developer. So kind of like same way you pay for usage-based services. Maybe it's usage-based revenue to them because there's
Based
that
on
many
installs or what?
I'm thinking like, how could they do that? But I think that's one idea. But then I'm thinking, well, how do they actually make money? And I think the main way they make money is from their sync.
Yep.
Right? I would actually love to have my own Obsidian sync server in my home lab, because what does it really take to like synchronize? I've only got like a couple, like my iOS and my desktop. It's not like 50 people. I suppose at that point maybe it gets more complex. But I'd love to run my own sync server and like skip the $10 a month, right? Because I've got a server at home. I can spin up a Docker container, and I've got plenty of resources and RAM and CPU.
Are you using Sync?
I am. I signed up early enough that I get it for half price. So for life, I think. I hope.
For life, wow.
For life, or until they change their mind, whichever
Until
comes
they change
first.
their mind, yeah.
He's one-upping us here. Okay.
But I do also, like, I'm comfortable with it because, like, you have to provide an encryption key. And
That's true.
So I know that they're encrypted going up to their server.
That is true. That's a really good point. It is very secure in
Yeah.
the way it does it. You have to have that key to decrypt it.
Yep. And they warn you plenty. Like,
I mean,
if
couldn't
you
you
lose
do that
this,
in
you
a
got it.
Docker container though, like on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
own? I mean, I don't mind paying them $10 a month, but like that's a lot over years.
It is.
I would
Yes.
rather just pay them. That seems like a poor way to pay them, is what I'm trying to say.
Agreed.
I feel like that's something they can skip.
Well, they should just improve that, I think. Like, they're working right now on...
Like more features, you mean?
Yeah,
to
they're
make
working on better, like, actually being able to collaborate better between, like, right now I share a vault with somebody, and we can both be in there editing the same document, and it works, but it's like, he types something, and then, like, 5 seconds later, it shows up on my screen. So it's not like Google
Immediate,
Docs
like,
real time.
yeah, real
If
time.
they added something more like that and made, because that's like a powerful feature of Notion
Yeah.
too, is
Yeah.
we can collaborate and we can be in the same thing and just do it.
Right.
And it's all going to be there and it's going to be fine.
And maybe even like an adoption strategy for them could be to open source what is a basic sync server,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
the paid version is, okay, you can't host this thing. Maybe you can do an on-prem version of it too. Maybe it's just a password version of a Docker hub that you pull a different Docker container, for example. But I wouldn't mind like a free version, because everyone can use it, right? Not
Yep.
for $10 a month, but the ones who need this collaborative feature, which I think is super cool, would pay the $10 a month.
Sure. Another cool thing though is because a vault is just a folder of markdown files, like you can throw that in Dropbox or you can throw it in Google or iCloud Drive. And,
Right.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But
And then
then
it's synced. And
It's
there's even a
synced, but-
plugin that
but
will.
the iOS app won't use it, right?
Yeah, I can't remember how that works. I've just been pampered with
I just don't.
sync.
I just don't use it on iOS.
Well, and that's another thing. Their iOS is
What an absolute
lacking.
shame. Legit. Like, I mean, to have your brain not with you, basically.
Well,
like,
my brain's
it's
with
like,
me.
It's like it's like leaving your head at home, in my
See,
opinion, for me.
I don't put my brain in there. I just put my scratch and my documents in
What
there.
I tend to do is on iOS I use an app called Drafts, and that's like
I have Drafts.
a second area where I can do like culling of things, like, oh, that's meaningless, that was a one-time thing,
Right.
and try and like make it so that only important things actually show up in Obsidian.
See, I think I wanted to have a place where I could just like one place to put everything, no matter if it's meaningless or meaningful. Because sometimes things are meaningless in the moment, but become meaningful over time. Because you're like, wow, what was that thing again? And if it's in the ephemeral and it goes away, then you don't have that to call back on. So I feel like just throw everything in there.
Yeah.
Right? It's just text. Who cares, right? It's
Yeah.
a small directory. It's maybe a couple megs at this point for me. I don't even know.
Yeah, and they give you, with the sync, they give you 50 gigs, I think. Which is,
Well,
I'll
that's
never
so
never
much
fill that up
space.
with text.
I mean, if you have 50 gigs of text,
Let me elevate this conversation slightly. Let me go up a level.
please do.
Is there no value in ephemeral? Is there nothing worth forgetting? Does everything have to be remembered all the time to be worth anything?
That's just too deep, man.
See, I think that's where a locally trained LLM comes into play. Let it decide later.
Yes, good
Let
answer,
it
Nick.
decide what's worth keeping and what's worth forgetting?
Let my notes decide. If it needs to tell me, it's trained on it, and it can tell me.
Do you not
Truth. I
appreciate
like
your
that.
agency in life?
I know that I have no agency.
All right. Eyes
Say that
wide
again?
open.
You don't know if you have
He
agency?
knows he has no agency.
Oh, you know. Okay, so you've given up.
Give it up.
Wow.
He's just a vessel through which the computers can do whatever they want to. So if they ever do bear arms against us, look out for Nick. He's coming for you.
I have to say that. I have to come out on their side because I know where I
Right.
stand
Coming?
with that.
Okay, yeah.
He's already staking his
You
claim.
have to be on their side. I've been saying that for years. I agree.
ChatGPT has
Well-
revealed things to me.
And if you're a Silicon Valley fan, like I think you are, then have you watched season 6 of Silicon Valley? Have you watched the whole
yeah.
thing? Okay,
Twice.
so then
Oh,
you're with me
gosh.
then, right?
We should stop.
What's in the bag? Cliff Bar and a gun, right? Best line ever from Guilfoyle. He's like, how should I be feeling? Abject terror for you. Like the best one-liners, right?
Yeah.
The last episode was phenomenal. Anyways, I'm with you though. Like if there's an uprising with the AI, I was for you. Okay, I was for you. It's coming.
I'm gonna make a stand. I'm gonna go down with the humans. On our recent episode, you were all declaring how you were a humanist and stuff. Now look at you.
That's true.
Just on the other side, showing your true
that-
colors.
I appreciate you pulling out my contradiction there. I am a humanist.
Until
Until there's something better.
it's expedient not to be.
Yeah, I suppose I have hope.
I'm making a stand. I'm pulling the plug at some point.
Well, we are in Texas, and you kind of have to be for a stand in Texas, right?
That's true. This is where we make stands in the world.
I don't see it as a threat right now. I don't know.
That's what you have to say. You're already taken.
That's true.
I do like your idea of an LLM trained on this, whatever my vault is. I agree
Yeah,
with
that's
that.
cool
I think
idea.
that is actually a really...
You could do that today with Olama or stuff.
yeah.
Have you tried it, or you're just
Oh,
waiting?
Yeah, I just haven't had time.
When you do, let me know.
When are you gonna have time? I mean,
You would think right now.
that's what I was thinking. You know, he's fun employed for the moment. He's gonna.
Right.
When do you start?
Tomorrow.
Next Monday.
Oh, okay. So you don't have much time left. He's like, I gotta go. I gotta go train this model real
I got
quick.
3 days, Wednesday through Friday. I can get this LLM
The
trained.
problem is I'm so centrally focused. I've got to talk tomorrow at this conference, and
That's true.
I can't do anything until that is done.
Right.
Fair.
I feel you on that.
Maybe on the plane ride home. Well, you think eventually that'll just be a plug-in, right?
There are plugins. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at one specifically because it was in the best of 2023 list or whatever. But it was one where you like give it an OpenAI key and then it does something.
And that's all through OpenAI, but
Yeah.
there's so many models you can download and have on your machine now.
I know. I'm this close to
should write that
trading
thing.
convenience for security. Like I'm always walking that line.
Right. I was gonna say you should have just plugged your OpenAI key in there and be done with it.
Yeah.
Well, then you're also giving them all that data too, right?
Yeah.
Which is
But he has no agency, so
that's true.
the resistance
What are they
is
gonna do
futile.
with it?
No, I think it wouldn't be very hard to get that one set up locally and be the plugin author, man. Be the guy
There we go.
who leads the way to the local.
What's required for it? Like roughly.
Python, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm out.
No wonder. Hey, I wrote some Python last week because of the exact same reason, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like Python.
I've written 30 lines of Python in my life, I think. It was for a Raspberry Pi, to control the breadboard, to control a camera, to take pictures. Like I made a wedding photo booth thing,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I wrote 30 lines of Python.
And did you enjoy it?
It worked.
Significant white space, man. Just indent that sucker. Who needs curly braces?
I do like their like syntax for imports. I wish JavaScript
Yeah.
would have taken that.
Yeah,
rather
they are.
than-
It is nice.
Yeah,
All right. Well, Python killed the vibe.
as it always does.
Should we call it, or should we let Nick talk about TypeScript for a few minutes? Let's call it. Let's call it.
He's cracking his fingers. Give us 1 minute of exactly why you love TypeScript.
Oh man,
No, this show's over. This show's over.
He was.
Go ahead, Nick. We'll give you a minute.
I just love that Jared doesn't like it.
I knew
it's
that was the
fun.
reason.
Yeah, it's in the talk today. Shonday was like, "You see this? And a superset is like all of that, but better." And I just leaned over to Jared and whispered TypeScript,
I bet you did.
He did.
All right.
and then Jared left the room.
I
He did.
literally.
He's like, I'm out of here.
Well, I already have my 5-year-old response to that. I say superset more like pooper set. Get it? Poop.
Yeah,
TypeScript.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's
sure.
pooper.
Sure.
And that's why I leave the room, because, I'm not 5 anymore.
But you said it and then left.
True. It was a mic drop. I came out here to find the mic so I could drop one real quick.
That's right.
Nice.
Well, appreciate you telling us about TypeScript right at the end there. That was a pretty concise reason to use it.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be.
It's
cut.
literally the only reason. If you don't like Jared Santo, you should like TypeScript. But if you do like Jared Santo,
Well, then, use TypeScript.
You want me to make a commercial for Changelog right now? I can do that.
yeah, man.
Like with that, just saying that. Come to JS Party, and if you don't like TypeScript, if you don't like Jared, then I don't know. We'll rename it to TS Party. I already generated the logo for it.
He did. It's a C+ logo.
Ugh. Hey friends, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Synadia. Synadia is helping teams take NATS to the next level via a global, multi-cloud, multi-geo, and extensible service fully managed by Synadia. They take care of all the infrastructure, management, monitoring, and maintenance for you so you can focus on building exceptional distributed applications. And I'm here with VP of Product and Engineering, Byron Ruth, and David G., Director of Product Strategy. So when you think about connectivity being the first thing to consider, someone push back on this and say, well, think about it later. What competes with a mind share of connectivity?
Just like an HTTP developer, you actually just download and run the NAT server. Whereas an HTTP developer, if you're building an HTTP set of endpoints, you typically have to implement or, use an HTTP library. And then, whether it's a Go standard library, Python, whatever it is, and you're actually implementing endpoints that register into the HTTP server. And then now you have to go deploy this HTTP server and ensure that it's performant. So it's a slightly different model, but you download the NAT server, it's a standalone binary. It runs on, the majority of platforms. And then you have a handful of client SDKs across all the major languages. You download that, and we even have a higher level API that is akin to what HTTP developers have of defining a handler, for example. We just call it our services API. And you basically have a few boilerplate things that you register your handler in the NATS context. And out of the box, it actually supports sort of a general request reply setup. And then you get all of these other benefits out of the gate. But the experience and the onboarding is arguably just as simple as any other HTTP onboarding, with the exception that you're technically deploying a client application that implements these NAT services in addition to the NAT server. But that's where the Synadia Cloud, it's already a managed instance. And we even have the demo server for you to just try it out. It's a public endpoint that you can literally connect to. So you can still build a simple client application, use the demo server as the endpoint, and then you can play with that and use that as sort of the server deployment.
Well, if we talk about it just from, this central view of applications, forget networking, all that kind of packet-based stuff, you were calling them HTTP developers, which kind of stuck instead of API devs. I mean, what do people do? They either glue it together at a primitive level, so the primitive being HTTP. They move up the stack in their mind's eye and they go, we're going to do some gRPC, which is kind of still point-to-point. So it's a lot of point-to-point stuff versus broker-assisted connectivity, which is way simpler. You connect to an endpoint, you get told about other endpoints. It's like connecting to a hive mind. What we're trying to do is move people away from coordinated point-to-point connectivity to easy connect to anything securely and connect to your other stuff securely, instead of having to coordinate the whole, rat's nest of where to connect to them. Then you've got to negotiate, well, what do we do then? Now we've got to go and get the schema information, and can we even connect to this thing, and does it even work, and what version is it, and all this stuff. And what we're trying to do is transform that and flip that to unify it to make it much simpler. So I think we're trying to go from a rat's nest of point-to-point connectivity in the application space to making everything on net. And it's like connecting to a hive mind. And what we're kind of asking people to do is think about applications the same way you would video conferencing. So if me and Byron are going to have a chat, we might do a huddle on Slack or jump on a Zoom or something. But if we want a colleague to join, we ask them to join the same call. So we can have a point-to-point conversation by the same medium, or we can have a party line via the same medium. So, it's request reply or pub sub, but it's on the same platform. We don't care about what Zoom server we connect to. We connect to the service and we coordinate our communications over the fabric.
There you go. Yesterday's tech is not cutting it. NATS, powered by the global multi-cloud, multi-geo, and extensible service, fully managed by Synadia, is the way of the future. Learn more at synadia.com/changelog. That's synadia.com/changelog.
All right, here comes Amy Dutton. Changelog++ listeners probably recall Amy's voice because she was on our pre-party to a feud, which was a Changelog++ exclusive episode a few weeks back. Amy played an epic game of Front-End Feud with us on stage the night prior to this conversation. Sadly, that one wasn't recorded, but those in the audience enjoyed a back and forth battle that came down to the final round when Amy's teammate Josh Medeski pulled out Thunderbird for the win. It was pretty amazing. You had to be there. I wish you were. Okay, here's Amy.
So I need to hear about the tab game.
Oh, yes. Open tabs, and own domains.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my two plans.
Perfect.
Because you have a lot of open tabs.
Oh, yes.
You have a lot of own domains.
Yes.
And I'm wondering who's got more of which. And now I know his number.
Of open tabs?
Open tabs in his browser window.
It's hard to count.
It's hard to count what? Tabs?
Tabs.
Okay.
There's so many of them.
Well, he's got a trick to it. You want to tell her the trick?
iOS tells you.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Or are you, like, even if you're using Chrome or, like, another browser?
Oh,
I
we
don't
don't
use
do
Chrome.
that.
What's Chrome?
What's Chrome?
What other options are there?
I mean, on my phone. Yeah, it's Safari only.
Well, I still use Arc. on my
Arc
phone.
on the phone?
Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, and they just released Arc Search.
I heard about it. I got the email, but I didn't look at it.
So I saw it. I haven't tried it. I
Okay.
downloaded it. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
What's it supposed to be?
Like AI search. So you would ask it a question. I'm assuming this is what it is. So, take this all with a grain of salt. But in December, the CEO released a video of things that they were planning. And one of the things was like you just type in whatever topic. And like if you go to Google, a lot of times you're just going to click through the first 5 options.
Right.
Anyways, and so he's like, why do all that? Why not just have Arc load those first 5 options into your tabs and then you can go through what you're looking for.
Okay.
So
Is that sans ads?
I mean, you're getting around Google sponsored stuff. So
Yeah,
unless
okay.
like
You got my attention.
unless Arc's going to try and advertise those things. I tell you what fascinates me about the browser company in general and just what they're doing is how they do their releases, because they'll highlight this developer did this feature and they'll create a video and highlight that
It is
person.
cool.
And so from like I don't know if they're open source, but from somebody that's coding and contributing to a larger code base, that's really intriguing to me to humanize.
Yeah, to have a name to a
Yeah,
feature.
exactly.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I've seen some of their streams, like release streams,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very surprised and delighted, I guess, happy for them, how many people watch those.
Oh, yeah.
And participate.
But I'm
they've
sure it
got
has to do with like the community
They've
stuff
got a
that they're
community
doing.
thing going on over
Yeah.
there that's like, well, they got a head of steam, so to speak.
Yeah, I was hating on them just for fun, really. I actually like all browser competition. I welcome it because,
It's not really competition.
well, I think it is. I mean, it could be long term.
Yeah.
Like if they create Steam and get adoption with devs and that transcends to mainstream, that's how Firefox began, right?
Yeah.
Firefox
Yeah.
began as a grassroots, like some of our early roots as developers. I'm not sure about yours, but like early roots was like get Firefox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the tabs was
Yep.
revolutionary at the time. So
The extensions they had.
precisely.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, for now, maybe not so much competition because Google has such a market share with
Right.
Chrome. And yes, I know what Chrome is. Just to close all these loops here.
Thank you for clarifying.
I was just
I was
hating
gonna
on-
explain it to you.
As a podcast, you have to, for fun, hate sometimes
Yeah.
just to
It's
just
for
to
fun
make it
hate.
more entertaining.
Sure.
Let's get back to my game here. So,
Okay.
Amy owns a lot of domains.
Mm-hmm.
Adam has a lot of open tabs. I will tell you, he has hit the 500 tab limit.
Oh, you
iOS
might win.
has a 500 tab limit, which I didn't know about.
And I didn't either until I was like, new tab, no. And
So how do you find what you're looking for?
new tab, search, put it in,
Oh, you
move
see it,
along.
okay.
He
Yeah.
always opens a new tab every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I feel like Arc has revolutionized my
Well, this
tab
is
game.
only on iOS. This is not desktop. My desktop
But
is 0
still,
tabs.
yes, I got it both.
So you
I
like
got
the
it both.
tabs over there? in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Arc
it's
land.
great because you create these spaces. And so I have stuff for like Redwood. I have a Redwood space that has all my Redwood tabs in it, and I can
Right.
stick everything there. It just makes it easier to find what I'm
You
looking for.
can manage your tabs a little better, maybe.
I should, honestly, but I just don't.
Why?
Because
That's what I want to know.
I don't have time for that. It's not a priority. And
What
I
if it
don't,
would organize it for you?
I don't need to. Well, I suppose if it did, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't need to, so I just move along.
Yeah. Bigger fish
So
to
that-
fry.
Yeah, climbing different hills, that kind of thing.
So then the bigger question is, how many domains do you own?
Do I have to give a number? I kind
mean,
of
you know,
like
if you're-
leaving it.
Are you honestly embarrassed by it?
Maybe a little, just because
Okay.
of how many. I mean, I will share. It's fine. Just like
You don't have to.
they're unused. I feel like, oh, I got this great idea. What's the first thing you do? You go buy the domain for
Right.
it.
For sure.
And then I think part of it is like not wanting to let go of that domain because you kind of have to have a conversation with yourself.
You have to admit to yourself that it's not going to happen.
It's not gonna happen.
I'm with
just
you.
gonna let this idea die.
I can empathize.
So you can just
So-
say more or less than Adam's tabs. That's all we need to know.
Less.
Less, okay.
Thank goodness.
Is it more than 50, less than 100? Let's narrow it in.
More than both of those numbers.
More than both.
Yeah.
Less than 200?
This is a
Yes.
binary search.
Okay.
This is.
All right. We
Dude.
found your range then. So
It's actually about halfway. It's about 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, we have some domains that we keep holding on to as well. And I like every time I see the renewal, I'm like, do we really need that?
Yeah.
And I've slowly gotten rid of some over the years.
Do you get rid of any? Do you?
Yeah, I do. I got rid of some this year.
Think about the financial burden.
I know.
Yearly
Then that's the thing.
of-
It's like 15. If you say like,
Let's say
$10.
$10.
Yeah, maybe
Which
a little
is not
more.
anymore.
That's like $1,500 to $2,000 a year in
Yeah.
domain names, which
Right.
that's the embarrassing part.
That's the embarrassing part.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
because I mean
Well-
that's year over year.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it
Yeah.
shows that you have a lot of ideas.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem.
How do you pick one though?
Well,
That's
Right,
actually
right, I'm
not the
focusing.
problem. That's a good thing, I think, because
Yeah,
you can have,
focusing.
of the many domains we've owned, this one succeeded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Changelog.com, we purchased that. We actually owned thechangelog.com.
Oh, nice.
We did the
originally,
Facebook move.
and then we had to drop the
Oh.
only in domain. Obviously, you see
Uh-huh.
behind us.
Yeah, sure.
It says the changelog, and we bought the domain from somebody else for $1,000.
Oh.
For $1,000.
So I've never paid more than $10 for a single domain.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. I've paid more. I've paid whatever that base
Like some
price
TLDs
is.
are
I
more
haven't
expensive,
done
yeah.
right. So
Right.
here you go. Trivia question: What
Okay.
is the most expensive domain that I own?
Oh,
$150
most expensive- that you own? Like, what's the most expensive
TL.
TLD?
Yeah.
Okay.
The yearly, or you mean the initial price?
The annual.
Okay.
Like
$150. That's where I'm going. $150.
well, what's the TLD?
I'll tell you how
This-
much it is.
This
too.
is a good one. So I know.
.fms are expensive. $90 a year.
Are they 90?
Yeah. That's why I'm like scrutinizing our domains. 'cause I'm like,
we got a lot of .fms.
we got a lot of vanities that just redirect.
Yeah.
.dev is like $30 a year, something like that.
I don't know.
Does that sound right?
I don't know.
Survey
Only
says.
What's
I
that?
said survey says.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, you're playing my own game against
Uh-huh.
me. Well, I think about $90 is probably your limit, don't you
Yeah.
think? So I think maybe is.
It is .fm. So we
Okay.
have compressed.fm, and that is the most expensive.
That one's worth it, though.
I think it's like 76. Maybe it is 90,
Yeah.
or it depends on who
Well,
you
ours
have
is
it
89 with
Yeah,
Hover. We use
depends on who
Hover.
you have.
There was a new one I was looking at, and I was like, this would be cool. And it was like $150 a year. Can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I lost it, but yeah, but it's
Yeah.
worth it because you're
Yeah.
actually using it, right?
Yes, that is true. That is one
Just like
that
all
we
of our
are
vanity
using.
domains are worth it because we use
Yeah.
them.
I recently acquired a domain. Hopeful.
Hopeful.com.
No, not hopeful.com. hopeful that someday it will pay off.
Yeah.
And the initial year was higher than its renewal because it was like a vanity one or like a prize one.
A new one, yeah.
And I will tell you the domain right now.
Okay.
It is homelab.tech.
That's a good one.
Homelab.tech.
Yeah,
a good one.
I got an idea I've been incubating without
Uh-huh.
telling you that I think you're going to love. Hopefully.
Love it. Love
So
it.
this is another good one. My most recent purchase. Good looking email.
Ah.
Yeah, and I think I got .com and .email.
Good looking email. So here's one that I want to get, but I can't get our hands on. Is changelog.news.
Yes.
Oh,
Somebody's holding on to that sucker, and I can't get a hold of them. They're not using it.
yeah.
We
that's
have a show
frustrating.
called Changelog News
That makes sense.
and a newsletter. That'd be great to have changelog.news, but now it's changelog.com/news. Got to get that slash out of
Right.
there.
I mean, that's the other part. How you rack up on them is when you have the redirects. Like I mentioned, goodlookingemail.com and goodlooking.email, just
Yeah,
to make
that's
sure
2 for
that
1.
yeah.
Right. So how do you feel about subdomains? Because there's a lot of people who are like, hey, if you got a new idea, have your own website, not the Duttons.com. That's not yours,
That's
Amy.
right.
That's somebody else with the
True.
same name.
That is true.
Is it selfteach.me or you
That's
have-
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow, I guess
Yeah.
that was good. I remember that's your
I'm
handle.
impressed. Like that's a branding question that I have,
Hey.
like always going on in the back of
I
my
remember
head.
that your online handle was self-teach me, and I remember
Yeah.
a
Well, nobody
.me
can
somewhere.
remember that. That's the problem. So it's like, do you
What
go?
is it? Say it again.
It's self-teach me.
Okay.
And actually, this is interesting. How I acquired that domain
Okay.
was I was looking for something else, and Hover will recommend domains. And it was one of the recommended, and I was like, yes. And so I bought it.
I like that.
They got you.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Sure did. I was like, that's why they have that feature.
We have an ongoing joke in my house. If my wife goes to Costco, they suddenly just put all the bed sheets into the end aisle, the end caps.
Yeah.
Because my wife loves to buy bed sheets.
Really? I
And
didn't know that about
well,
her.
not anymore because I've disallowed it at this point. Like, we just have enough, babe, okay? But it's an ongoing joke. Like, I'm like, babe, they see you coming. It's kind of like, they saw you
Yes.
coming with that.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
Yeah, they
put it
did.
out there. Amy will buy it.
Yes.
So a lot of people will say you have a new idea. Maybe it's a good-looking email.
Yeah.
And instead of going out and registering that domain, 2 of them,
Yeah.
goodlooking email .selfteach.me.
Right.
And so now you have a place for that on the web, and you can build the thing. And then if it's good and it takes off, and you're like, you know what, it deserves its own domain.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered that?
Well, here's the thing. Is somebody going to say, like, oh, changelog news already exists. I'm just going to go ahead and buy the domain and squat on it until that
Yeah,
person.
so it's a squatter problem.
Yeah. Well, and I worked one time with a very shady client that's what he would do. Is
Really?
He would buy up domain names that were like people's names, like up-and-comer politicians and things like that he thought could go on to do big things that would want a vanity URL. And so he
Not
would buy
cool.
that. I know,
Part
exactly,
of me thinks
right?
that's not cool, but the other part of me thinks of that, like, isn't it online real estate? And isn't it smart to just buy a piece of property to hold it because you think it's going to go up in value and sell it later?
I say yes, so long as you're willing to sell it.
True.
Yeah, well,
right?
he would reach
Or
out to those
untouchable,
people.
you can't be reached like changelog.news. Like, that's not cool.
That's the other thing is like, well, I guess we now have tooling where you can be like comparable domain prices, but some people are unreasonable.
So he would reach out to that person and be like, so I have this domain
And I'm gonna
that's
hold
your
it
name.
hostage.
I'll sell it to you. So, and he,
In a way, he's reserved it on their behalf
Yeah.
and is willing to give it to the correct person, and there's a fee for that.
Right.
I get that. I mean, that's an enterprising person.
yeah,
It's shrewd, I
both
think is the
ways.
right word. It's shrewd, but not cool,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like you can't really blame him, but you're kind of like,
Yeah.
but I don't like you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not enjoying this process.
Yeah.
But thank you.
You were smart, but I don't like you, okay? So, okay, it's about the squatter problem, not so much, because it seems like the
Right.
problem is I have ideas, I don't actually build them, and now I've got domains.
Yeah.
But really, the domain has to happen right away because you don't want someone to steal that
Right.
in case you do actually build
Right.
it.
Well, and naming stuff is hard. That
It
was,
is.
one of the things he said last night.
I've gotten to the point, though, where I'm like more no than yes, right? Like to simplify things. And so I can empathize with the buying. But then I'm like, let me just wait to see if I really get motivated to do it.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And then, But there was really, in my case with HomeLab, there was nothing that seemed so perfect other than one other domain, which I did not buy yet because I feel like that just doesn't make any sense. I was also hopeful that our friends at .tech would just reimburse me via sponsorship because
yeah.
we worked with them
Uh-huh.
before, and I told them about that. And so that's, I'm sure if we
Did they say
something,
no?
No.
They said yes?
They said next time we sponsor, we'll make sure it happens.
Oh, okay.
So they plan to come back. And I like .tech. It's a cool.
I think
like
.tech's
there's
kinda
Neon.tech. That's
Yeah.
one of our partners.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great product.
.tech does fit in a lot of places. It's not a .com, obviously, and it's not a .io, which actually is not that good. It's certainly a .net, which is not that good. I mean, in comparison, right?
Yeah.
.net versus .tech?
Well, .tech is, I think, it's as close as you could be to .dev if the .dev is taken. Right? It's still
Yeah.
pretty on point.
.tech is?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This is not an ad spot, by the way. This is my beliefs. These are my beliefs.
They saw us
Google
coming, Amy.
Google Domain Authority. I think .com weighs into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think .net is old school enough that it's probably better. Harder to get than .tech.
Right.
Yeah.
.tech's pretty wide open, which is a good reason for it. This is also not an advertisement.
Since I'm mentioning sponsors, we do have another sponsor, Image Proxy, which actually is pretty cool, and they're .net.
Okay.
It's an open source image processing that you self-host.
Oh,
and they also
nice.
have a paid version of it that does a lot of other cool stuff, like more cores, more CPUs, more images. So if you're like Imager and you want to process a lot of images, like millions,
Yeah.
they have a paid version of it, but they're imageproxy.net. And I just noticed that because I was emailing them earlier, and I was like, okay, you're a .net. Not that it's bad, but like, .NET isn't that cool.
Yeah.
So with this sponsor, I'm just gonna.
Sure. One more layer. Go ahead. You have
Just
questions
ask a
about
help
question.
us out.
Yeah, I'm curious. So are they like generating images or just like resizing or filtering existing images?
I have not dug into the tech yet, so I'm going to talk
Okay.
to Sergey, who is the CTO.
Okay.
And once I have that conversation, I'll have more knowledge. But from what I understand, rather than using, say, ImageX, I believe is the other one that's out there.
That one's
they're
old
a
school, too.
Yeah, they're a
Right.
SaaS. They're an API. So you host it there. You make calls to their API.
Right.
Whereas this, it's a Docker image. You self-host.
Okay.
They also, I think they have a cloud version of it potentially.
The fact that it's called image proxy makes me think that the images live elsewhere and it's doing stuff on the fly.
You can put on your
Yeah.
own
That's
S3,
my guess.
your own R2.
Okay.
You host it yourself, and you make calls to it
Yeah.
via the URL, and it just gives you the image size you want. It does all the resizing, I suppose just in time.
Yeah.
And then there's
And
probably
caches it.
caching layers
Caching.
in there and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's pretty interesting. But their model is open source, and you can.
That's cool.
What I love about their on-ramp, just to give them a little bit, I think it's super cool for a strategy, is their product is fully open source. I think it's even like permissively licensed, like MIT, like way open. And the same Docker image that you use is the same Docker image you would use as a paid version of it, except for now it's behind credentials. It's
Nice.
a proprietary Docker image when you go to a paid version of it, but it's the same, core of that Docker image. So from a code standpoint, all you're changing is the Docker string and some credentials to like pull from Docker Hub, which I thought was a pretty interesting on-ramp because like from an implementation standpoint, you're not changing anything. You can go open
Right.
source and fully use what it is as anybody out there. But then if you have these specific larger pro needs, you can go get pro, and it's just a change with your Docker Hub.
That's awesome.
Nothing else. Like
Yeah.
all of your code stays the same with how you use it.
It almost sounds like the Supabase model.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
set
you
up
can
too.
host it wherever you want.
Yeah.
So you can on-prem, your own hosting, S3, pick where you're putting it at. R2.
Let me segue back to the previous conversation because we were talking about image proxy, a proxy for your image. Domain names are kind of a proxy for your idea, right? Like
That's
you got an
right.
idea, you give it a name, you hold on to the domain in the hopes that you'll implement it someday. And I'm starting to reach a point where I'm realizing in life, well, first of all, I've always known, intellectually at least, that ideas are actually cheap and like execution is hard.
Yep.
But yet we still hold on to the idea very tightly, right? Because they're our babies and we just want to hold on to them just in case.
Right.
And I've started personally to get to a point where I've realized like most of my ideas, I'm never going to do them.
Yeah.
And so I'm just giving them away in the hopes that somebody else does them. Have you ever considered this for some of your
That's a
domains?
good question. Oh man.
Like you could even say, I got 150 domains.
That's a great idea.
Each one has a
actually.
good idea behind it that's mine, but
Yeah.
maybe you have a better idea. Here's a domain. You have an audience. There's
Yeah.
people who would be like, here's domains to the person who will actually build
I
this
actually
thing.
love that idea.
Yeah. You can go put like one of this email version of it, put it up there for like $1,000 and say, here's
Well,
the
that's her
idea.
newest
I have.
idea. She's not going to do that one.
Well, that's the only one I know of.
Gotta,
I'm talking about your old ideas.
I could like go that one because it's the newest. If there's an older idea that I want to hang on to more.
True.
Right.
But I mean, you go online and you see all kinds of. I mean, even GitHub repos of project ideas, or you could build this, you could build that.
Right.
That sounds like a great thing to give people. Is not only are you giving them the project idea, but you have the domain to go along with it.
Right.
And
And it doesn't have to be free. And you can sell it to them at a
You
reasonable
could even
price.
get them for free for 1%.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, here's the idea for free. Go do it. Maybe there's an agreement like, okay, X, and you get.
That's really interesting.
That'd be a
it's
good idea.
sort of like an investment.
So there are companies that kind of do stuff like that.
Are
Actually,
there?
if you take that a step further, there's a company called Fractal, and it's an investment. It's a venture capital company. And what they do is they go in and they do market research on all these different verticals, and then they will hire a CTO and a CEO, a pair, to run the company, and they give them $1 million to go in and build that company, and they're trying to get whatever reinvestment they can,
Right.
get customers within that first year. They have to go in and build everything, which is kind of an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
I wonder if that would
But
work.
they've already done the market research on those verticals, and they have built-in coaching and tech support for the CTOs that are building things. And yeah. So you have a CEO and a CTO that might not be interested in that vertical at all, but that's what they've been assigned to.
Right.
So it's like, are you interested in the vertical or are you interested in the job? Is kind of interesting. But they've already done the research on that market piece to know we think there's an app here that's very niche that nobody else is building.
Yeah. That's a cool idea. Give the ideas away or give them away with some sort of strings attached.
Yeah, I think that's because in that case you get to give it away at no cost. So the startup cost is free.
Yeah.
And the idea is sort of like maybe even backed. And maybe you're also an advisor. You know, like if it's a good enough pair. And then you're like, hey, give me 5% of the equity.
So what's funny is I have a domain that this whole thing could live on.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Projectsfordev.com.
Projectsfordev.com.
Yeah.
You should do something with that.
Stick that on there.
I believe we've just given you an idea for free.
Perfect. So
We will
do
take
you
5%
want-
equity. Thank you
You
very
can
much.
have the idea.
And you've got the domain, so.
If you're listening, here we go. If you're listening to this and you think that's a good idea, we've got just the domain. You go build it, a place where we can post our free domain ideas and do this whole idea that just happened, and then maybe we'll hook you up with a domain to put the thing.
Domain. Maybe. Jared says maybe.
Well, I
Okay,
don't want to
before you
offer
go,
Amy's domain up to somebody.
Before you
It's
go,
not mine.
give Compressed a plug here at the end.
Yeah, so I co-host a podcast with James Q. Quick, Brad Garapi, and Becca, and it's called Compressed FM. And our tagline is it's a little bit of web design and development with a little bit of zest. So if you listen to the intro, that is James rapping, which is
All
kind of
I love zest.
fun story.
And it rhymes with compressed. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, well, it's part of the rap. That's how it.
Jared, you've never heard it,
So
huh?
I haven't heard the rap.
This is funny. When we started this idea about the podcast, James was like, "I'll rap an intro," and I didn't know James very well at the time, and I was just thinking, "Oh, great!
Great idea.
I know, can't
Don't mess
wait
up.
to hear it." And then it was like
So
solid.
you started a
so-
podcast with a complete stranger?
It wasn't a complete stranger, but we didn't know each other very well at that
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Perfect strangers.
Good show.
We've been on a couple of live streams, and I reached out and was like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast."
Nice.
And he was like, he told me no.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
just like that, just no?
Yeah, he's like, "No, I don't have enough time. I can't do it."
I can't do it.
And then he came back and he's like, "Well, let's talk about it."
Okay, this makes sense. I've thought
James
about
and
it.
I are kindred spirits because I have rapped on JS Party in the past.
Have you?
And I also wrote an entire rewrite of Snoop Dogg's, not Gin and Juice. What's the one I woke up in the morning? Lottie Dottie. I completely rewrote Snoop Dogg's Lottie Dottie to tell a story about JS Potty. But I didn't publish it because it was pretty bad. So
That's
we're on the
awesome.
same wavelength.
That's awesome.
If you're a plus member, this might be in the outro.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah, let's put it there. Little bonus.
If we get 10 new plus members, Jared will... No.
That's right.
I don't want to hold that idea hostage. All right, we'll let you go. Amy has to go record
Thanks,
another
Amy.
one.
Thank
but-
you.
That's awesome.
Appreciate you guys.
If you're listening, you may remember the early days of the internet where open networks like HTTP and SMTP led to an explosion of websites and online communities. Building a fan site and connecting over shared passions led so many of us to careers in software. Back then, it seemed like anything was possible because the internet of the 90s was built to democratize information, not consolidate it with a handful of big tech companies. Read, Write, Own, Building the Next Era of the Internet is a new book from startup investor Chris Dixon that explores how network architecture plays out in our online lives and the decisions that took us from open networks governed by communities of developers to massive social networks run by internet giants. Read, Write, Own is a playbook for reclaiming control and for reimagining applications so users can own, co-create, and even profit from the platforms they use every day. From AI that compensates creators to protocols that reward open source contributions, this is our chance to build the internet we want, not the one we inherited. Order your copy of Read, Write, Own today or go to readwriteown.com to learn more.
We finish up this episode with longtime listener Andres Pineda, whose biceps are only outshone by his enviable afro top sprinkled with the color of experience. Here's Andres sharing some of that experience with us.
All right. Andres, I met Andres, in line when I was registering.
Okay. Awesome.
And you were standing with Latisse, right? Was it Latisse?
Lettuce. He had lettuce with him.
No.
Who's that?
The girl you were standing with in line. Y'all were talking.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Latisse?
Yeah. Was it
Latisse.
Latisse? Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've seen her since then. Maybe
Yeah,
once.
I saw her yesterday because she's part of there's the sponsor. She is on the other table.
Oh, sweet. Okay. And so we were talking, and she was asking me a bunch of questions. He was telling me he's a listener, and I'm like, well, we got to talk.
Nice.
And then we talked last night, had a lot of fun.
At the piano bar?
At the piano bar.
At the piano bar, yeah. It was
Nice.
a great night. Where were you?
I was out till about 9:30, and then I went to bed.
That's right.
So I was at the
Double cut.
restaurant, but I got in late the previous night. Woke up early. I was smoked. You know, we did conversations all day yesterday, and I just needed some sleep last night. So I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I heard it was a good time.
Well, that's why he's here now to come back with a little rehash to some degree.
What are you gonna rehash?
Well, I'll lay it out to some degree. We can go wherever, but
Sure.
he's a listener. As you can tell, he recognized your face over mine. He saw me on
Which
TV.
is
He's like,
nice.
who is that guy?
Which is nice.
Apparently, I look different with no hat on and no scrub.
And no beard. So
Yeah,
that's
no
good.
beard. He's all
I
cleaned
told
up.
him my age last night, and he's like, you don't look that age.
Yeah.
So I was appreciating
that's a
that.
compliment.
And I said, you got amazing hair. I wish I had your hair. He's like, man, my hair is my brand. And then he showed me your avatar. What was it? The silhouette.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's why they call the avatar. So it's called Pineda. So if you go anywhere near the Latin or Dominican Republic specifically,
Yeah.
you will see that people will recognize the avatar. Let me see if I have one of those.
We'll put a photo of this in the show notes if we can.
Is this your online as well?
Yeah, I have a there's a whole story around the avatar.
Okay.
I don't think I have one right now.
He's searching his backpack for a sticker.
That's the avatar. That's the
Oh,
avatar.
that's not even a sticker. That's a poker chip.
Well, I have stickers. There's
I want a sticker.
There's coffee mugs. I think I have one. I will find
If
it.
you have one, I want it.
Yeah, there's coffee mugs.
it looks like you.
Yeah, it's me. It was a picture, and they
Yeah,
just
it is me.
draw it.
A friend of his did this for him.
Yeah.
This is
because-
cool.
Well, I'll tee it up, and you can share the story. But he's from the Dominican Republic, and he's had to keep his hair short there. And as a revolt, he's grown out his beard and his hair, and it's become his brand. You can take it from there.
Yeah, exactly. So I was working at this company, and every time I had just a little more hair than what it was regular, they would politely suggest me to get a haircut. You know, third world country, it was different. Actually, also it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I quit the company, started working in a company. It was a remote work, and since then, 2014, I haven't gone to a barbershop any longer.
Wow.
Since then, I moved to another country where this is not an issue. I don't think it is not even an issue anymore in the Dominican Republic. Actually, it was just I was at the bad time, at the bad place, bad time, and wrong
Right.
time. Yeah.
Love it.
And now he's in Canada,
Yeah.
Quebec.
Not currently. You're in Austin, Texas.
Well, yes, of
Currently in
course.
Texas. Yeah, but living in
Clearly.
Montreal.
Thank you, Jared, for the clarification.
Yeah, but you live in Montreal.
Yeah, and the reason living in Montreal was also there's a story behind it. So, software developer, my first community, my first conference outside of the Dominican Republic, and I see this conference is called PyCon, and it's a Python conference that happens all across the United States. By coincidence, that year, that conference was going to happen in Montreal for the first time outside the United States. So I did all the paperwork I asked for the visa. I went to this conference. And after the conference, I stayed at Montreal for 15 days. So I connected with the people. I visited companies. I visited meetups. You know, as usual, meetups was already there. I was trying to connect with the developer community in Montreal. So during that time, I just called my wife and said, I just found a place where we're gonna spend the rest of our life. Montreal is amazing. A lot of the people, the food, the weather in quotes,
Right.
in quotes, because it's amazing even the weather, because you have the 4 seasons. There has something special in each season.
Yeah.
It's not in Dominican Republic. Each season is the same, regardless if it is summer, if it is winter or spring. You will have it's gonna be warm.
I'm with you, man, because I'm in Nebraska, and we have all 4 seasons,
Yeah.
and each one is that season.
Is that season?
And to an extreme in certain cases, to where I'm like, some seasons are longer than I want them to be, such as winter.
Exactly.
But we get all 4 seasons, and there's something special about that.
It is, because something I learned once you moved to Montreal that teach me that you cannot take things for granted Like in
Yeah,
terms
exactly.
of with terms of weather, Dominicans, we wake up in the morning of any day and any time of the year, and it's most likely gonna be the same.
Right.
In Montreal, it's not like that. Or in Nebraska, you have summertime, and you gotta use those
That's
4
right.
weeks that you get of
That's
summer.
right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
you gotta take everything that you can do of those 4 weeks.
Plus, it teaches you the value of, I guess, like relativity, because the same exact temperature feels different on the way in or the way out of a season. So, like
Exactly,
going
yeah.
into winter, 40 degrees Fahrenheit is feeling cold, right? You're like, I'm coming out of summer. It's fall. It's getting colder. I'm going to bundle up. It gets colder, colder, colder. Coming out of winter on the other side, here comes spring. 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Woohoo!
It feels good.
Go outside shirtless. You're like, this is amazing.
It feels good. You're happy.
Sure.
You're happy. It's the same temperature.
Yeah, it's the temperature, but the fact that you are leaving winter behind,
Yes.
it gives you hope.
It teaches you perspective.
Exactly.
Right.
I think.
It does give you hope. Whereas on the way into it, you're like, here we
Oh,
go.
here we go.
For sure.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, I've been living there, and since then I've been trying to connect with the different communities. I'm a software developer myself. At that time when I moved there, I was heavily on mobile, and so I was connecting with the iOS community, with the Android community, Swift community, and there was all their cross-platform technologies that I was using at the time. Xamarin Forms was one of them, and also Uno platform, which was created and built on Montreal. So right now I don't work directly with them, but I'm one of the maintainers. So because being in a place where there are many things happening compared with the place where I'm coming from, allow me to connect with way more people and increase my network. And I started learning what is the benefit of communities, and that's why I'm here today. And that's why I've been attending conference every year since 2014, since the first time.
This seems like a great one to learn the benefit of the community.
It is.
It's very community oriented. That's cool. I've never been to Montreal. Have you?
I have not.
It should come.
What's going on up there?
It should come. There's a lot of things happening, and every season you will find something crazy or nice to do. In summers, it's usually packed because Montreal is a place where there's a lot of tourism. And if you go a little bit more east in the Quebec City, which is the capital of Quebec, you will find even way more things to see. It's very multicultural, but overall, Montreal feels like a small European city in the north.
Okay.
So
Cool.
in terms of food, if you're a foodie like me, I like food. You can think about any type of food, and you might be able to find it in Montreal.
Are there tech events, conferences up there?
Yeah,
Like-
there's one happening recent in February. I'm gonna be participating there as a speaker. It's called Kung Fu.
Kung Fu. I've heard of Kung Fu.
Kung Fu, yeah, it's happening in Montreal.
Yeah.
It's a really great experience, conference, and the organizing, the speaker, everything, and it's a whole package of learning and enjoying. It feels pretty much like this one.
Yeah.
It will happen in February 19 for 4 days, if I'm not mistaken, or 3 days.
Cool.
Different track like this one. So
We should get it going, man.
Yeah,
I
you
think
should- you
so.
should come.
I've heard good things. Kung Fu.
Confu.
C-O-N.
C-O-N-Fu.
Yeah.
F-O-O. Yep.
Yeah.
Kung
Yeah,
Fu.
you should-
F-O-O.
Yeah, like
Not
like food
F-U.
bar.
Like Fu
No,
Bar.
Yeah, like food
Okay, I
bar.
was thinking Confu, like Kung Fu.
No, like
No,
Fu Bar.
that's why,
Kinda cool
that's why I
too.
spelled it out for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I think I submitted a talk to Kung Fu years and years ago, and they either accepted it. I can't remember the details, but I didn't end up going to the conference. But I was like this close to going, and ever since then they've always emailed me the CFP every year.
Yeah,
And
you
I've
should-
never actually submitted since then.
You should
But
come.
every year I'm like Kung Fu. It sounds cool,
Yeah.
and I've never gone. So maybe we should get that going.
It's a big conference.
Yeah, I've
and,
heard about it, yeah.
It's very heavy. It started heavy on web, but it grew to a point that,
Yeah, they
that
got
you can
big.
see everything right now. There.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll think about that. So what kind of tech are you into? You've done a lot of different stuff, but what?
Yeah.
What
so
about
I,
today?
I say myself like I'm multidisciplinary. I love languages. I just love coding, solve probleming. At the end of the day, we are here to give value, not to talk about the future. I saw that phrase yesterday on the keynote. So I started with .NET. .NET I think is my base. Is the one that I know the most, that I have used the most. But I did for 2 years recently front end, using TypeScript, React, very heavy on the React, and I was at community at that time when I had to switch from mobile. into front end, my first thing was let me get people in the community that speak this language. And I'm not talking about the language TypeScript, like JavaScript. I'm talking the language of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's true. People say once you learn one language, it's easy to learn the other. That's partially true because you will learn the language, you will learn the features, but you will not, if you not get immersed, you will not learn what all the things that the language requires in order to work. And that's what I did. So I started connecting with people in the community. That's how I started following James Quick. That's how I started following GS Party. That is part of the, I just learned this morning
You just found
that
out?
GS Party is part of the Changelog
Changelog.
organization. I'm a follower of GS Party.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago, when I was looking to increase my JavaScript knowledge, that was one of the first podcasts that came to me.
Love it.
Because of people mentioning.
Right.
And
Love that.
So these days, basically, mostly doing backend. Doing back to .NET, doing backend, doing microservice, Docker, Kubernetes on top of GCP.
All the things,
and
man.
All the things. And
Yeah.
fully collaborating on this open source project, Uno platform. I mentioned this project is based in Montreal.
Yeah.
And this project, what is looking...
That's Uno, yeah, UNO,
Uno,
right?
yeah,
I've heard of
Uno,
this.
yeah,
I've heard of
it's,
this.
it's a really nice project, and basically what it wants is using a single set of tools, SAML for the UI and C#, or you can do all C#. You can build application for all the different platforms. You know, this is something that we have been looking for years. Java try, Electron try, .NET with Xamarin Forms
What about
try.
Tauri?
We have tried many times, and this one is not different than the others in some sense, but it's looking the same output. One thing that I enjoy, because I'm very heavy as well into learning WebAssembly, is the WebAssembly capabilities that this platform can provide.
Huh.
So I'm there collaborating as an open source contributor. If you can read my
Open
t-shirt,
source is art.
Open source is art. Open source has
right.
shown to be the right way.
Yeah. That reminds me of the quote of the week that I put in Changelog News yesterday morning. So this comes from Tom Wilmot. I actually saw it on Matt Mullenweg's blog. And he says, proprietary software is like creating art which no one can see. Open source elevates software engineering to a collaborative art form. Code is poetry.
And poetry is art.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's on point, right?
Open source is art. It's very
I love that
close.
quote. Open source elevates software engineering to a collaborative art form.
It is, and one of the things that I love about open source is that it enables developers to learn from others. It's not only that a tool that you can use and you use it in your project. Is that whenever you have the opportunity to learn from others, it's a good opportunity for growing. And open source opened that. Open source, you are able, for example, Xamarin, when it started, it used to be closed source. And if you had any problem, you need to open a ticket. It became open source, and every time I had a problem, I would just go github.com/Xamarin.forums. I would go to the code.
Yeah.
And I will investigate and probably not find a way to fix it, but find workarounds the problem.
Totally.
And even suggest fixes. That's the important. That not everything relies on the person that creates the project. Once it is open source, you have a whole community backing you off to help you, to guide you, and to do suggestion that can make that project succeed even more.
Whenever I think of code as art, I think of Why the Lucky Stiff. Have you ever heard of Why the Lucky Stiff?
No.
Okay,
Tell me
so
about it.
It's a guy. He's a guy, or he was a guy. He's
still a guy.
He's off the internet now. Is he still
Yeah,
around?
I think he's just not
All
on the
right.
internet.
So he was
Yeah.
in the Ruby community, which is one of my earlier programming languages was Ruby, and he was very good at being art. He's an artist, and with code, and he wrote a book called Why's Poignant Guide to Ruby, which was a story of like two animals he created, characters, one teaching the other Ruby, and it was just very enjoyable way. He's teaching you a programming language while you're reading the story about these two characters. Just pure art, right?
Pure art. Yeah, for sure.
And he ended up burning out. It's a sad story. He left the programming community, burned out. He's living in the real world now, teaching still, I think, last time I heard of him. But he had all of his code open source, and I was pretty young in the Ruby, my Ruby roots, and I had read his Poignant Guide, and I had realized that he created his own web server, because back then everybody was using WebRick for dev, and then what was Zed Shaw's thing for prod?
I forget.
Zed Shaw had more of a battle-hardened. WebRick was for...
I would know it as soon as I heard it.
Yeah, anyways, can't think of it.
The moment.
But Why had his own web server that he wrote, and I remember going to his open source code and reading his code And this guy coded as art. I mean, and Ruby's a great language for that because he
Yeah.
would invent ways of doing things where you're like, this would never pass code review, right? Like this would never go into enterprise production rollout, but it's beautiful and weird. And I learned so much about the Ruby programming language by reading his code because he was doing stuff that I didn't know was possible.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's what I think of when I think of open source as art. It's like, I learned reading his stuff, and if that was closed or never left his hard drive, like the world would have missed something that it got for free.
Exactly.
So cool.
Exactly. And just recently, a friend of mine had a problem with a proprietary software, and he asked me for help, and there was not much that we can do other than just open a ticket and wait for the person to to find the solution. And if it was open source, you could probably not fix it. But as I say, ask the owner of the project, of the product. If you want to charge, it's okay. Open source, you can get money even charging. Doesn't matter. There are ways to monetize open source. Red Hat show that is possible, right? But in this case, my friend, he got just a library DLL that he put in his project, it's in the project, and he's trying to make it work, and it's not working. He's not giving any hint or insight that what's going on. Since it is closed source, there's no way for him other than just open a ticket.
Truth. It goes from an I to a we,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Which is cool.
yeah.
Because now it's not me, it's us. And that's beautiful. Better
And there-
together.
Yeah, that's right.
There are many projects out there that started as a pet project for somebody, and right now it's a product that is holding many big projects out there.
Yeah.
I often try to wonder the world in this moment.
Mongrel.
Was it Mongrel?
Mongrel.
You're right, it was Mongrel.
It came back to me. Keep going. That's Zed Shaw's program, Mongrel. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was very popular.
And then Mongrel
prod.
2. Anyways, keep going.
We've plotted about that in the past,
We
many,
did.
many years ago.
Yeah. I knew he'd come back. Go ahead.
I just think about what would the world be like in this moment. We obviously wouldn't be talking probably if open source was not a thing. Like if somebody never said this should be shared, we should collaborate, this needs to be free, not just as free like as monetary freedom, but like the freedom of enjoyment, of collaboration, of where it can go, how it can be used, etc. Like what would the world be like if open source was never open source?
That's a good question, and I feel that all the improvement that we have done in every piece of technology so far, we wouldn't be able to be that far.
Yeah.
Just that. I mean, I'm been coding or in the industry for almost 20 years, and when I started, open source was not a thing. It was, even though Linux has been there, it was open source, but the tooling and the collaboration was not there yet. And it was because of the internet. The internet was not what we have right now. And I remember trying to find online a tooling that do something, and you will find the DLL or you will find the package already of the library. And even though that could solve one of my problems, it didn't solve it in the right way, because now you are trusting someone with a library that you don't know what's going on inside there. Would you do that in one of your projects in your company? I guess no. I guess the open source opened the trust between creators and the people that use it. Can be companies, can be startups, and anyone. You can see what we're doing, and you can be part of this at any time. And without that, I don't feel that we will be able to go that far, because otherwise we'll be relying only on big companies to do those things that we have right now for free, in quotes. You cannot see it. This is a podcast. What is it?
He put quotes up when he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, audio only. Well, Andres, thanks so much for talking to us today. Anything else you want to talk about before I let you go?
Yeah. Well, before there was a conversation that we had last night, and we talked about the stickers, and we saw about the Pinedax and what those Pinedax means, and why it's important. So if you go to the Dominican Republic and you say in the tech, you say Pinedax became an icon that people use to talk when they want to talk about, they want to improve, when they want to be better. It all started that my last name is Pineda without the X at the end.
Okay.
It all started as in the communities, every people that would participate and make others to be better by doing presentations, by helping others in the forums. It was in Facebook.
Sure.
You will get the X. That X means that you escalate it into a level that you are you being helpful for the community. It was just a way to identify people that are collaborating and making the community even better. So I got my X because I started doing meetups. I started helping, mentoring. Even though I've really joined a stage of my learning, because when I joined the community, I was not the person that could be here talking today.
Sure.
I couldn't see a microphone. I couldn't be in front of people.
Right.
I was scared. But the community teach me that. So I found that I could also help others to overcome the fear of talking, because there's a lot of smart people out there. They just feel fear of talking, of being in front of people.
100%.
So I got my X.
That's cool.
It's called Pinedax, and right now Pinedax has become that person, that icon that people that people say, I would like to be that, like that. Not like me, because I'm just a person,
Sure.
but like what Pinedax represents. And I'm happy to be the person behind that icon. I will get you the stickers, and as I continue making the Dominican Republic community grows, I helps even remote, and I travel at least twice a year for conferences over there.
Yeah, man.
That's really cool.
I heard that story. I was loving it. So I was like,
You got to come say that on the show.
we got to come talk.
Is there?
Period.
So there's stickers. Is there a website? Is there anything else that's like formalizing this concept?
So I only have the Twitter handle, and this is Pinedax _dev. Usually this is in Spanish, because this is meant for Spanish and Latin America communities, and that. I mean,
Cool.
So follow that. We'll put it in the show notes.
Go get your X.
Go get your X,
Yeah.
right?
Love it.
Thanks, Andres.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Being listener since long, listener, and I have you. You are the only show that I have on YouTube.
Oh wow.
That's right.
I don't mix entertainment with learnings. I
Right.
usually have two different accounts.
Keep them separate.
Keep it separate, right?
That's right.
But you're the only ones that sometimes I'm looking for something Friday night.
Yeah.
And you show up
Something
with
short.
one of the clips. And
Love
it's-
it.
That's why your face was
He
familiar.
watches it and he's like, I can't watch this on Saturday night or Friday night.
Yeah.
I got to watch this when it makes sense.
Yeah.
But he will watch it, but he wants to go and like listen to the full length show.
Okay.
Because it teases him.
It's a tease. And it
is a tease.
And it's a good one. Because
thank you.
It brings the expectation, say, I want to hear more.
That's the entire point.
Then
Thank
he
you.
cues it up for Monday.
There you go. Cue it up.
Yeah.
I love that you listen, that you enjoy our clips. I love that you found JS Party.
Yeah.
And didn't realize that was also us.
Now, until this morning.
Okay. Well, happy to connect those dots. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Bye. Adam and I would like to give our sincere thanks to our friends at Cloudflare for bringing us to that conference. It was such a well-run event. Shout out to Clark and his team for doing it right in all the right ways. Those folks sweat the details, and it really shows. There's another That conference in Wisconsin at the end of July. Will you be there? Hopefully we will, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll also have to wait a few more days for our next Changelog Beats album to drop. Spotify has approved it, but Apple Music hasn't yet. Walled gardens. Lame, right? We'll talk more about it once it's official, but all of the music you heard on this episode is featured on the album. It's called Dance Party, and we dare you to listen to this bundle of BMC bangers and just try, not to dance your pretty little face off. Next week on the Changelog, news on Monday, Nadia Oanayo, the founder and one-woman dev team behind Storygraph. On Wednesday, and on Friday, well, let's leave something to the imagination, shall we? Thanks again to Fly.io, to Breakmaster Cylinder, and to you for listening. We love that you choose to spend time with us each week. That is all for now, but let's talk again real soon.